hello boys and girls, welcome to the show. Now, as most of you probably know, I record my shows usually about a week ahead. So today's show was recorded exactly a week ago, alright? So the only thing, the reason I do that is because if something goes wrong, I've still kind of got time to try and pick it up. Do you see what I mean? If the internet goes down, or I'm unable to upload a show, or for whatever reason, and occasionally things do go wrong, then I can always try and pick it up at the other end, and you know, there's space to breathe, so to speak. That's the advantage. One of the disadvantages, of course, is when things happen in the world, I'm a bit behind. If I had the time on a special event as what's happened in the last week, then I would do an extra show, but unfortunately time does not allow me that, which brings me to the point of mentioning all this, and that in my mind, one of the greatest entertainers of all time has now died. Michael Jackson, only 50 years old. Now, as I sit here talking to you today, we're not quite sure why he died. Seems very young to die, 50 years old. But when you consider all the operations that he's had on his face, and I suppose all the drugs that he must have taken due to having such massive surgery all the time, and the stress of being such a large superstar, I suppose all this would add to why one would die so young. And it's just such a shame. It really is. Michael Jackson's music, from a DJ's point of view, which is what I do, it's my main job, DJ and karaoke host. But from our point of view, there can't be many DJs in the world whose nights have on occasion been saved by Michael Jackson's records. I don't think there is a single other artist in the world who makes records. This sounds a bit old-fashioned, that now, doesn't it? Records. They call them tracks now. A lot of the kids call them tracks. I still call them records. But there isn't. I say there can't be. There isn't. In my mind, there isn't another artist in the world where if you are having a bad night, and we all have bad nights. DJs have bad nights. By a bad night, I mean one of those nights, not necessarily one of those nights where there might be the occasional fight or argument going on somewhere, but one of those nights where you just can't get anyone to dance. It does happen. It really does. You can go through every genre of music. Now, different DJs do different things. I tend to play to the audience. I usually have a very large selection of music with me, and not usually the cat next to me. Hello, cat. I think I notice every time I'm out here at the moment, the cat, Katie, comes up to say hello. I think she wants to be in the picture. Those of you watching on YouTube will now notice the cat on my lap. This is Katie. She's becoming a cat superstar, aren't you, darling? Hey? You going to say something? Give us a bit of a meow. Go on. No, she's not. Thing is with the cat, once you pick her up, she stops meowing. She'll only meow when she's round your legs. I wonder if she's actually saying, "Chris, please pick me up." Is that possible? Oh, this is like Pussy Galore in the James Bond film, and a lot of fur coming off at the moment, dear. God's sake. Anyway. Yeah, on those nights where you really can't get anyone going, and it doesn't matter what you put on. And as I say, I play many different genres of music. I'll try and match the music I'm playing on a particular night to how that night is going. On a bad night, you could have gone through every genre of music and you're not getting much reaction. If it's going that bad, then usually In fact, I would say in all cases, all you've got to do is pull out a Michael Jackson record. Usually something like Billie Jean, Thriller, or Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. They're the three, I think, big Michael Jackson tracks. And that will do it. Now, I'm a great fan of all sorts of music, especially ABBA. I love ABBA. But even on occasions, ABBA can't get the dance floor going. Michael Jackson can. Can you hear the cat purring? I'm sorry. And that's why, to me, and I've never felt this way about a star. I know when Princess Diana died, there was a great public outpouring of grief. And I was a bit upset over that one. But not like this. Not like this. I'm really very sad that Michael Jackson is now gone. He's one of those people, you kind of don't expect them to die, do you? Some people. And I think when they do, it brings back the whole grim reality of the whole thing that we call life. Those three records I mentioned, Billie Jean, what's the other one? Billie Jean, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, and oh, I forgot the other one now. But anyway, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough is my favourite one. I love all the trumpets and all that, and of course with the Jacksons as well. Again, at a bad night, you can pull out a couple of Jacksons records, ABC or I Want You Back, something like that. Immediate full dance floor. And his music crosses so many genres. And I have a feeling, although I haven't done them myself, I don't have the music to be able to do, for example, a hip-hop night. But I have a feeling, even at a hip-hop night, you could pull out a Michael Jackson record and it would fill the floor. So very saddened by the news, which was, of course, last week now by the time you're watching this. And I hope his family, just very difficult, very difficult. And he was so close to making a big comeback tour. There has, of course, been a lot said about his private life as well. My thoughts on his private life, well, I don't think he was a pervert at all. I think he was stuck in his mind. I think he was stuck at the age of a child, and therefore liked to continue doing childlike things. And they're my thoughts. Very sad. And I really do believe that all DJs all over the world now have a big hole in their record box. Not, of course, that we'd ever stop playing his music. I mean, people will be playing his music for years and years to come. 50, 60, 70 years. And I don't think it will ever sound dated. When you listen to Billie Jean now, does it sound like a track from the 80s? It doesn't, does it? And Bad, and Wanna Be Starting Something, Black and White, great tune. So anti-racist, it's fantastic. The whole Black and White, I love playing that one. Anyway, if you want to share your thoughts on that one, do let us know. This is United Kingdom Talk. My name's Chris Reardon, a 3 times a week talk show. The email address of the show is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Now, we've had a little bit of a problem with some of the video side of things recently, which those of you that watch the show on YouTube, Current TV, or the others may have noticed. I do believe we have sorted out that problem since the last show, and the problem was that certainly on YouTube, there's a little square box where the picture is supposed to fit. And the picture has been too small, basically, and there was a black line all the way around it. Well, I've sorted out that it was something to do with the settings, and now we should be filling your entire screen. You lucky people. Even a bigger face than it is possible, okay? Email address once again is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. What is your favourite Michael Jackson record? Are you a DJ? Are you a DJ and you've had a particularly bad night and people aren't dancing, and then you pull out a Michael Jackson record and it works every single time? What record do you pull out? Or what is your favourite Michael Jackson record? Let us know. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. And you know, sometimes us mere mortals, should I say, we worry about perhaps living a little bit far away from hospitals or being on our own in a house or something like that. I do sometimes. I sometimes think to myself, if something happens here, no one's going to know. But Michael Jackson, he had a doctor with him. He was 4 minutes away from hospital and he still went. So maybe it's the same for all of us. When it's your time, God just takes you, doesn't he? Anyway, sadly missed Michael Jackson. Now, some other stuff to talk about today. Oh yes, so last night, it would have been last night for me, you see, the death of Michael Jackson. Last night the news came through on the internet and I made an announcement, and then a little bit later on I played an entire night of Michael Jackson tracks. That's all I played, Michael Jackson and the Jacksons. And it went down, let me tell you, it went down a storm, except for one idiot that came up to me and said, "Are you going to play Michael Jackson for the rest of the night?" And I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Well, could you not just slide in without anyone noticing a song by Girls Aloud?" And I looked at him and I said, "How can I slide in a Girls Aloud record so that no one notices?" And he said, "Go on, it'll be a laugh." I said, "Look," I said, "this night will never happen again. This is out of respect to Michael Jackson and the music that is given everyone, and in particular DJs, and helped us out on nights that have been dire." I said, "This is for him, this is for his respect. Oh, please, can you put a Girls Aloud record on?" I mean, as if they could ever be in the same category, you know. So I said no, politely. I think I was polite anyway. I'm not sure. Dear me, some people just don't get it, do they? They just don't understand how things are. Anyway, I'm sitting outside in the garden today, but I've got a bit of a feeling that we may have to move inside rather quickly because it's completely overcast. And as I sit here, I've got cat fur all over the place now. As I sit here, I am getting the occasional drop of water. Now we have got thunderstorms predicted for later on. I'm not quite sure what time they're due, but we'll have to see what happens there. We may have to make a dash inside and carry on the show. Or perhaps I could take you into the living room today, I might do, although it's a bit dark in here. I haven't got my lights set up or anything like that, okay? What else we got to talk about? Oh, quite a lot. Some emails coming up. Oh yes, I was watching I'm only going to just touch on this subject because I don't know much about it, and I'm wondering if you do. There was this program on the telly, this health type program the other night, and there was a couple on there, and they have regular enemas. Now I take it you know what an enema is, eh? Oh, you don't want me to explain it, do you, for God's sake? An enema is when they put a tube up you with a funnel on the end, I think. They pour water into it, and it's supposed to clean you out from that end. Now, this couple reckon they have an enema 2 or 3 times a day. I mean, is that good? Were we supposed to be taking liquids in at the other end? It sounded dreadful to me. Not only that, but can you believe, and apparently they do different enemas. It's not just water. Oh no. They have lemon enemas, where you put lemons in with the water. And they have coffee enemas. Apparently the coffee enemas are for when they feel a bit tired and run down. I've never heard anything like it. Not only that, but this is the one I want to ask you. Oh my God, what's that on there? Was that a flea? Oh, that could be a flea. Oh, don't say the cat's got... Katie, have you got fleas? Oh, actually, that's a point. I haven't put that front line stuff on the back of her neck for a couple of months. I must go and get... I must have put some of that on. Let me just check my shirt. I haven't got... It might have been a flea. Then again, it might have been a small fly. But there's no more on me, thank God for that. You haven't got fleas, have you, Katie? Oh, and she's dribbled down this shirt as well, honestly. Now, where was I? Oh, yes, they have coffee enemas as well. I always thought it was just water, didn't you? Not only that, but do you know you can actually go on an enema holiday, which is where you go away somewhere, I don't know, for a weekend or a few days, and you spend that time and you have a few enemas. I shouldn't laugh, especially because I don't know, you might be into this. Is this something that appeals to you? Clear out the rubbish in one go. I think I've also seen on the telly machines that do this as well, without the funnel in the top. I think they just push a button and water isn't it a horrible thought? Water starts going in you. But the worst part of it all is that the water coming out of you, I think they throw a switch and then it goes back the other way, and it's a clear tube, and you can see all the gunk coming out and going down this plastic tube. How awful is that? I'm sorry if you're having tea. You know, we don't usually talk about things like this, do we? Just wondered if you'd admit to having any experience with enemas or anything like that. Do let us know on the email and share your experiences with us. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. A story in the newspapers a couple of weeks ago about this couple in Wales who had IVF treatment, and apparently they got in the hospital, there was some sort of mix-up and they got the wrong baby, and I think they've still got this baby, but do you know what, they got £25,000 compensation for that, and as always they were on the telly. So, oh, it's not about the money, and all this business. Mind you, dear, you know, I mean, if you was offered that money, you wouldn't say no, would you? £25,000. And that got me thinking. And I want you to think about this as well, boys and girls. Are you sure? If you're a child, are you with the right parents? Because I can guarantee you that I bet there are a few people in the world that, unbeknown to them, or indeed their parents, they have the wrong parents or the wrong child. It might be worth you finding this out. I mean, for the sake of £25,000. Indeed, my cat Katie, who's down on the floor at the moment, aren't you, darling? I don't think that was a flea, it was a little fly, wasn't it, eh? Poor thing. I'm starting to wonder if I've got the right cat here. Perhaps this really isn't my cat, and if so, will I be able to get £25,000 compensation for that? Just a thought. There must be people in the world of all ages. We're not talking about adoption or anything like that here. But there must be people who have got the wrong parents and don't even know about it. So if you're a child, have a close look at your mum and dad. Or the pictures of your mum and dad if they're not here anymore. Are you sure that you're the right child? And parents, have a look at your children. Has it ever crossed your mind to think that perhaps, do you know what, they don't look like me or your mother? I wonder why that is. You could be on for a 25 grand payout here, dear. It's got to be worth investigating, isn't it? Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. All right. For your thoughts on that one. Go on, have a good look at your children. Are you now thinking, he's right, you know, that Chris Reardon's right. They don't look anything like us. I wonder if they're the same children. And if so, you know, if they're of a, you know, if you haven't spent too much money before, perhaps too much money yet, if they're not your children, you can always eject them out of the door, can't you? Eh? There's a little idea for you there, boys and girls. Also on the telly, I've seen this programme this week about house swapping. Now, this is something, apparently it's quite rare, but it does happen. Especially at the moment where not many houses are being sold or bought. House swapping. This is where people put adverts in the paper or wherever. I think this is a specific website actually. And you put your house on there and you see if someone wants to swap. And even if they don't want to swap, you can decide what the value is and then change houses and just pay the extra bit on top rather than sell the whole house and then have it all going, you know what I mean, all that palaver. And there was one house which was on top of a cliff, and the views from this house were amazing, absolutely amazing. And he wanted to swap the house for somewhere in the country, a little bit more inland. And they've matched up with this other couple who had a house inland and wanted to live by the sea. Now, they couldn't agree on the prices of either house. You know, both of them were, say both of them were about £200,000, but when the other couple investigated, they decided no, it's only worth £150,000 and that sort of thing. Not talking about that part of it. But the house that was on the cliff top, I mean, it was amazing, absolutely amazing. The views from this place were astounding. But the other couple were concerned that this house was sitting literally on a cliff top, not far away from the sea at all. And they were concerned about coastal erosion and all that. The council, who are supposed to look after the coastline, had recently shored up the sea defences against this area and were guaranteeing, I mean, you know, what a way to think. They were guaranteeing that the house would not drop into the sea for 50 years. I mean, that is, don't you find that frightening? Would you want to live somewhere like that? Where there's the possibility that after 50 years your house is just going to fall into the sea. There is an area in Norwich, I can't remember where that area is, but Ross from the Ross Pat Zelt podcast was telling me about this. There is an area in Norwich, or in Norfolk, and you go down this road, and then the road just stops, because then that's the edge of the cliff. An entire village has fallen into the sea in this particular area. And I just thought, I mean, even if it's a lovely view and all that, I couldn't live somewhere like that. Could you? And I don't care what guarantees, I mean, what a thing. Are we guaranteed for 50 years it's not going to fall into the sea? And the couple was saying, well, you know, I mean, if you're over the age of 50, then it's unlikely that you'll be there for 50 years, I suppose. I don't know. Not in my case, of course, because I intend to live to about 25,000 years old. And as I've said before, I've been booked by various radio stations to talk for every single second of that 25,000 years. And I intend to carry that out. I will still be talking. But would you want to live on the top of a cliff like that? Could you live like that? Could you trust that the council are telling you the truth? or do you think, oh no, I couldn't. The view may well be astounding, to just look out over the sea crashing against the cliffs. But the thought that, oh, and you know, if you felt a sudden movement or something like that, because we all have earthquakes, we even have little earthquakes here in the UK. I must admit, I've never felt one. But we had one last year. Shook the whole of London. I was in the car at the time, so I didn't feel a thing. All very scary. Could you live on top of a cliff like that? Is it worth it for that view? Let us know. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Now, councils around the coastline, in some areas, they don't look after the edge of the land anymore. They just let the sea take it. It depends, of course, how much money is available and all that business. But it's not, it depends where you live, really. I know the area of Norfolk where that village fell in. It was decided that they didn't want it. It would cost too much to keep shoring up the coastline, so they let it go. All very worrying. Would you live on that house? Let us know. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Now, those of you watching on YouTube may notice that I have a little microphone today pinned on my shirt. It's all looking rather professional and rather chat show on the sofa today, don't you think? Yeah. Now this microphone, believe it or not, this little microphone cost £4.99. My mate gave it to me. It was actually a radio microphone, and the end of it was plugged into a little transmitter box, and then you had a little receiver box with it. Now, he gave it to me and said, look, I've got this on eBay. He said, I don't think it's going to be much good, but you try it. So indeed I did. I tried it with the transmitter pack and the receiver, and the quality, let me tell you, was diabolical. It just didn't work. The amount of background noise, by that I mean, you just couldn't use it. You couldn't use it. But I got to thinking, I wonder what it would be like plugged directly into my little recording gadget. And I tried it out, and I was pleasantly surprised that it works so well. So that's what I'm actually using today. Like what you see on the telly, you know, if you're listening to this on the radio, you won't be able to see this. Like what you see on the telly, there's a microphone clipped to the edge of my shirt, just below my chin. So I hope that's sounding all right. Well, it was sounding all right when I tried it out earlier. It's a bit difficult to see actually where exactly it is. It's kind of just below the collar. So there we are. You see, we're moving on in fits and starts here, aren't we? Apologies to, I think it was Wayne who kindly wrote in. Now, Wayne, let me see if I've got the email. I may not have the email here now. I did print that off. Oh, what a shame. And 1 minute. No, I don't think I printed that off. But Wayne, oh, here it. Hang on, is this it here? Here it is. Here it is. Wayne kindly wrote in here. Hope you're well and things are going okay for you. Yeah, not too bad, thank you, Wayne. Wayne is in Reading. He says it's Oxford, but he's in Reading, a run-down part of the UK, I'm afraid. He says, come to Bracknell. I keep telling you that I'm in Bracknell. This show is created and broadcast from Bracknell in the Royal Borough of Berkshire, just down the road from Windsor Castle. Okay? Come to Bracknell. We'll look after you here. There's no crime whatsoever. There's nothing. And the birds are singing 24 hours a day. My maths is not good. Can you hear them? Listen. Oh, it was really noisy out here the other morning. I love it. Love the birds singing. You won't get any birds singing in Reading. Oh no, they're all mugged. The birds in Reading know if they start singing, they will be mugged. It's terrible. Terrible place. I mean, the shops are all right if you can get to them. Due to the Reading one-way system, you can't get to the shops, dear. You spend hours queuing up to get into one of these blooming car parks. Terrible. Anyway, Wayne writes, he pretends he's from Oxfordshire, but he's not. It's Reading. He pretends to be one of those posh people like me. The cat has now flopped down on her side. You are looking very fat, cat. Where's all this weight coming from, eh? Dear me. At the risk of sounding like Carl from Yorkshire, which is something I don't want, I don't blame you, Wayne. You don't want to start sounding like an anorak, Wayne. He says, the sound levels on one of your shows a couple of weeks ago were really poor. It sounded like it was clipping. And when you raised your voice, it was really bad. I have to say this is unlike you, and normally your levels are spot on. So I'm only mentioning this in the hope that it helps you. Yes, and thank you very much for that, Wayne. Quite often, I do an awful lot, and it's just not possible to listen back to a show once it's been done. And I do appreciate any sort of feedback like that, technical bits and pieces. I do, and Carl from Yorkshire will tell you that. Yes, he is an anorak. Yes, he does sit there looking for faults, but actually I do appreciate it because it's the only way that I can learn when things like this are pointed out. Okay, so yes, I do appreciate it. Why was it clipping? I think what happened was, when I've recorded the show, and I then have to edit it, the sound and the picture, on the computer. And if I think it's a bit low, I will raise the whole thing. Now, if I don't notice it, then the bit at the end, okay, may be louder than the rest of it. If I haven't noticed it, that's what would have caused the clipping. And if you're wondering what clipping is, that's where it starts going a little bit, if I can explain to people who don't understand that, the best way to explain it is when it goes a bit distorted, when it's actually been recorded or the level's been raised too high. So that's what clipping is, especially for Joy and Acton, that little bit there, Joy, okay? Joy is very pleased now because I am now filling her entire television screen. She's got a wide screen, Joy. Oh, yes. Yes, Joy in Acton, one of our most regular listeners. She's been with me for years and years. I've known Joy about 9 years. She's not good on the technology, but there's all us thinking she's got a little black black and white portable television sitting in the corner of her living room with a tuning dial. Oh no! She's got a widescreen television. Not only has she got a widescreen television, she's got Sky television as well. I haven't even got Sky here. Well, at least not the subscription channels. Oh no, dear, we don't subscribe to anything here. I've told you that before. Why pay out money unnecessarily when you're not going to use it? And I will not watch Sky Television for whatever it is, £10 a month, dear. What's the lowest package now? I think the lowest package is about £16 a month. The highest one is something like 40. People are paying £45 a month for all those channels. Shocking, isn't it? Shocking. And this is why a lot of these football matches and all that are on the telly, right? Because they television channels compete against each other for the matches, and they offer more and more money. That's where do you think £80 million to get Cristiano Ronaldo comes from, eh? Mind you, I'd willingly pay him £80 million for just one night. Oh, let's not even go there, shall we? Okay. And this is a family show. Stop it now. Wayne also writes, I've been meaning to email you to mention that when you're in the studio, the reverb I find is too much and I have to turn it down low to listen, and even then it's noticeable. Hope it helps. Lots of love from Wayne. Thank you, Wayne. Yes, the reverb. I'll tell you about that. Do you remember a few shows ago I said let's try out the reverb, and I was fiddling around with the buttons a bit? Well, guess what? For the last few shows I've actually forgotten to turn it off. And that's why there was reverb. You shouldn't notice any reverb at all on this program. There were a couple of people who mentioned that they didn't like it, and I'd completely forgotten it was on. James Dean mentioned it was annoying, but then again, James Dean doesn't really know an awful lot about anything technical, as most of you probably know. So that's why I forgot to turn it off, but it is off now that you mentioned it. And again, Wayne, seriously, thank you for mentioning it. Anything technical, please send the information in, okay, and we'll know. Talking to James Dean, him and his other half are considering now moving to London, which is just 45 minutes drive away from me. So that'd be interesting, coming from Manchester to London. I believe what he wants to do is rent out his house, which is up in Manchester, and rent something in London with the money from that. But I don't think they're going to be able to do that. If they can rent the place in Manchester, that probably won't cover the rental of a property in London, and they'll have to pay a bit extra. But then presumably if they've both got jobs, then that will happen. The other area he's looked at is Brighton, but again, Brighton is also a fairly expensive place to live. London's very expensive, and Brighton is as well. I have to say, I'm a Londoner, brought up and born in London, South London, and I moved out here to Bracknell, Berkshire, because of the grass and trees and all that, and it is beautiful, and the birds singing, you can hear them. It is beautiful where I live, but sometimes it does cross my mind, what would it be like to go back and live in London? Now, my very early years, up to 1969, when I was about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, when I was 6 years old, we lived in Peckham, southeast 15. It was okay there. Now, it's a rough old area, Peckham. It's very rough. And from there, we moved to Roehampton, where I spent the majority of my childhood. Well, except the early part, all of my childhood was spent in Roehampton. And again, a lovely area to live in the 70s and 80s. Lovely area, but again, that's become quite rough as well. But even so, I do wonder what it would be like to live back in London again, being able to get around by buses and tubes and trains, which is something we can't really do out here. I mean, without a car, I'd be pretty stuffed. We do have a bus service in Bracknell, which is quite good, but it's nothing like the bus service in London. You know, you might get a bus an hour or something like that, whereas in London they seem to come along every few minutes. We have a train service here in Bracknell, but it's a good 45-minute walk to the train station from my house. Also, I can't travel around late at night without a car here. The trains stop, I think, round about midnight, and you can't go anywhere again till about 6 o'clock in the morning. And there's less people. You walk through London, wherever you are, and there always seems to be people walking somewhere, especially in central London. And you know, sometimes when you've been out here, or perhaps I've been on my own for a while, you know, a few days, if I haven't been to work for whatever reason, maybe a holiday or something like that, and you've been on your own, and then you get in the car and go to London, and suddenly you're among lots of people again. And even if you're not sitting there talking to all of them, it's just nice that they're around you. And there has been more than one occasion where, and again, where I am here, I have lovely neighbours, but all my friends are in London, and no one can kind of come round and just knock on the door, all right, Chris, and then come in. I used to have a flat in Wandsworth. There was always people knocking on the door, all right, Chris, I'll come in. And they'd come in the living room, we sit down, watch some telly or have a chat or something like that. It doesn't happen here. It can't happen here. And I mean, it's been, what, 1992 I moved out here. So it's been a good 92, 02, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's been a good 17 years I've been out here. And yet, why is it now that I'm starting to miss the fact that there's no one to pop round? Strange, isn't it? And it has crossed my mind before to perhaps move back again, but on the other hand, I do feel particularly drawn to this house that I live in. I love it here. I absolutely love this house, and I love it where I am in my garden. I mean, where else can you hang up hanging baskets along a shed? I've got some beautiful plants and flowers in the garden this year. I mean, this I would go as far as saying this is the best year ever for my garden. I did promise you I'd take you around, those of you watching the show on the YouTube and on the current TV and blip and everything. So we'll have a little look round now, okay, because it's looking particularly nice today. Now, if you're listening, don't worry, you won't miss anything out. On the shed, I had the most amazing hanging baskets this year. Now, I made them all myself, okay? There were none of these ready-made ones done in the supermarket, which cost an arm and a leg. And I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... There's 6 hanging baskets in the back garden. And there's a couple of hanging baskets on the hanging at the front as well. And I think, and 2 that are kind of positioned underneath the solar panel, right? And all those cost me about £30 for all those. And the cat has now jumped onto my chair. Excuse me, Katie, that's my chair there, if you don't mind. Hello? She's naughty. Also, I've done sunflowers this year. They're looking particularly big. Great big sunflowers, and they're already, I would say, about 4.5 feet long. I've got 2 by the shed. Oops, I've just kicked something over there. What was that? I've just kicked the clock over. And I've also got 3 large sunflowers by the front window. I've got little pink geranium type things. I know that I took you around the garden a little while ago, but what I want to show you is the tomato plants and the vegetables that I've been growing. These were tiny little plants a little while ago, and now they really are growing fairly high. I've also got and strawberries. Now, strawberry plants, I've got strawberry plants, something that I think I did once before and failed miserably, but these strawberry plants have also got suckers coming out of them, and I'm not sure, people are telling me to cut the suckers off, but I'm not sure about that. Do I not put the suckers in pots of earth to grow more plants? So I'm not quite sure about that. I've actually got two strawberry plants. There's another one there, and I'll take you a little bit closer because I want to show you and describe this. Now, well, have a look first at the strawberry plants, and right underneath the flowers we already have a couple of strawberries growing there, and which is quite quick because I've only had the plants a little while, not long at all on the strawberry plants. And not only do I have strawberries, but the tomatoes have started as well, and I'm really pleased about that. Let's see if we can get a bit close. I can't actually, where are they? Oh, there they are, all my little tomatoes. There's quite a few of them now. Let me count. If I can get any closer to that, I don't know. 1 minute. 1 minute. I don't think we can get any closer to that now. We've had it going a bit blurry. Is that in there? Keep talking amongst yourselves. It's nice, isn't it, to come out in the garden and do all this. Perhaps I should do, because we did have a cookery programme, as you know, a little while ago. Perhaps we should have a gardening programme as well. Why can't I? There we are. There's the tomatoes growing away. Beautiful. Little green round tomatoes. And there's quite a few of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I must have about 30 tomatoes growing already there. So very pleased with that. The pepper plants are getting larger. They're at the back. Okay, the pepper plants are getting larger. I don't see any sign of peppers yet, or indeed... Oh, hang on a minute. Yes, there is. Yes, there's one pepper down there. There's one pepper right down there. You won't be able to see it. It's too small. And next to that, I've got peas, okay, which are climbing up canes. And we do have some peas already growing, some pea pods. Okay, little pea pods growing there. So it'd be quite nice to actually do all those or eat stuff that I've actually grown myself, which is just fantastic. Just fantastic. It's a kind of a nice thing to have known that you've grown everything. And I also have over here a lot of tomatoes that I grew in grow bags rather than plant them in the garden. And there's quite a few there which I've now sticked, and they've all got sticks. And slowly, well, I say slowly, growing up the sticks. Each of these is, I suppose, about, let's see, about 18 inches high so far. So that's all happening there. All right, so just a little look around the garden for you. I shall have to chuck the cat off the chair now, which won't please her, I suppose. What a cheek she is, isn't she, eh? Right, let me just move round again. Now, if you're listening to the show and you've never seen it before, excuse me, can I sit down? Thank you. Stop moaning. There we are. If you've, oh sorry, let me just move something. Yeah. If you're listening to the show and you've never actually seen it before, and you do have internet access, then you can watch it simply by going to UnitedKingdomTalk.tv for the latest show, okay? UnitedKingdomTalk.tv. Nice and easy to remember. I know, am I a bit crooked now? Oh, just a minute. This is the trouble. You start moving things around, don't you? And it is probably not a good idea to move things at the last minute. 1 minute. Oh, yeah, we can't be crooked. That's it. I think that'll sort it. Right, UnitedKingdomTalk.tv if you want to watch the latest show is there. If you want to watch any of the older ones, including this one now where I'm talking about the garden, you could see the garden as well, then simply go to UnitedKingdomTalk.co.uk, UnitedKingdomTalk.co.uk, and look for the show dated Saturday the... Oh, I'm trying to think now. Just a minute. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 1, 2, 3. Saturday the 4th of July, I think it is. I'm sure that's the one. Okay? This show should be dated. It's not necessarily the show that you're listening to at the moment on this date. I know that because each station plays it at a different time. But Saturday the 4th of July. If you go to UnitedKingdomTalk.co.uk, look for the show dated Saturday the 4th of July, and that's the one where you will see the garden as I just described it for you, okay? And see how my little tomatoes are doing. Perhaps we should have a competition. I could give away tomatoes. In September time. Just a suggestion. Wayne also says, your nearest river is the River Loddon at Winnerish, which I didn't know that, which often floods due to building on floodplains. You see? We were talking about that a few shows ago. Why they are allowed to build on floodplains? Well, it's all about money, of course. You know, someone's obviously getting a backhander. And also nearer than Windsor is Reading, where the River Thames. Please don't make out that you live near Windsor. You may be a queen, but not the queen. Who is it? What does he mean by that? Beg pardon? How rude are you? Well, I do live near Windsor, if you don't mind. I think you'll find, actually, Wayne, that I'm nearer Windsor than I am blooming Reading. And I am near Windsor. How dare you? What a cheek. Yeah, but I am actually miles away from Reading and Windsor. The River Thames flooding is never going to get this far, is it? We're miles away from all of it. He says, we should all rent from Chris Reardon Rentals. Yes, you should, Wayne. Thank you very much. Now, we've got a really nice email here from someone who's been with the show quite a number of years. And this is a lovely thank you letter. And doing these shows, you've only got to get an email like this, and it's just all worthwhile. It really is. Dear Chris, here is a big thank you for you and many of your listeners. If you will remember, last year, at the beginning of the school year, I asked that some of your listeners send postcards to my grandson Trevor for a class project. Amy, that's Trevor's mother, who's a teacher incidentally, Trevor and Libby, Trevor's sister, are now in Florida visiting me, and they bought the 36 postcards that Trevor received. His class received cards from many countries and all 50 states of the United States. When they reached their goal of all 50 states, they had an ice cream party. Now, Gloria, I'm a little disappointed with yourself and your family here for not inviting me to the ice cream party. That is something I would enjoy. I like a party with ice creams and jellies and cakes, ham sandwiches, sausage rolls, cheese and pineapple on sticks. I don't want any of that boring, horribly tasting adult food, such as prawns and duck pate and oh god, let's have the ice cream and jelly, please. If anyone's having an ice cream party, please invite me, because I reckon I could eat every one of you under the table. We need ice cream. None of that fancy stuff for me, thank you very much. I was talking to someone last night who was in the pub, and they'd just been for a meal at some restaurant in London. £40 each they paid for this meal. 40 quid for a meal. You're having a laugh, aren't you? 40 quid. I don't think so, dear. God's sake. For one meal, £40 per person. Dear. Trevor received postcards from Matty, Joe, Suko, Catalin, oh, our little violinist. I hope she's all right. I haven't heard from her for a while. Alice Gio and Senol Marta and many others. He has cards from Poland, Romania, Russia, Fifi Islands, or Phi Islands in Thailand. I've never heard of that. The UK, Germany, Tasmania, Israel, Switzerland, and many other countries. I, along with Trevor and Amy, want to send a big, big thank you for making his project a huge success. It's fantastic. Fantastic that someone who asked for help, and then I read out the request about him wanting cards from all over the world, and you responded. You responded quite well in quite a large number by sending him these cards from all over the world. And not only is Gloria thanking you, but I am as well. I'm well impressed. So thank you so much for sending this little boy all those cards. such a nice thing for you to do. And I know some people watching this aren't particularly loaded with money, you know. I don't think any of us are. I mean, I'm all right, but I wouldn't consider myself rich at all. But other people are perhaps not as well off, and yet you still went out, purchased a postcard, purchased the stamp, and sent it off. Thank you so much for that, on behalf of Gloria and Trevor. The email goes on, it was quite exciting for 8 and 9-year-olds to receive postcards from all over the world. Yeah, I should think it was. Years ago, I used to collect stamps, and that's from your Florida friend, Glory and Amy and Trevor from Omaha, Nebraska, in America. Thanks for the email. You know, not everyone asks for something, gets it, but then follows it up with a thank you email. And it's so nice of you. Thank you, Gloria. That really is nice. It's a bit like, you know when you're a child and you get Christmas presents and birthday presents and your mum says, oh, have you written your thank you letters yet? And you think, oh, I've got to write these thank you letters. You know, you're happy to receive the gift, but you didn't write the thank you letter. Well, Gloria has. She's written a thank you email there, and thank you very much for that, Gloria. Anyway, we're out of time for the show today. As always, thanks for listening and watching. My name's Chris Reardon. My email address, if you want to join in at any point. Sometimes the emails can take a week or so to come up in the show, okay, because we're quite busy. But the email address, and they do come up always eventually, is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. See you on the next show. Bye-bye now.